The vote had passed. 742 species had raised their communication appendages, their bioluminescent tendrils, their crystalline resonance chambers, all in agreement. Earth was to be banished from the Galactic Union. Exiled. Cast out like a broken star map. Ambassador James Hargrove sat perfectly still in the human delegation chair. Around him, the Grand Hall of Verith Prime buzzed with alien celebration. Colors he had no names for pulsed across the walls. Sounds he had no ears for rattled the floor beneath his boots. The Galactic High Speaker, a towering, six-limbed Drethali named Counselor Voss, raised all 6 arms in what every species present recognized as victory. The motion carries, Voss announced through the universal translation layer. Humanity is hereby removed from all Union trade routes, protection frameworks, and communications grids. Effective in 30 of your Earth rotations. James Hargrove uncapped his pen, pulled out a small notepad from his jacket pocket, and began to write. The sound of a pen on paper was, by any galactic standard, an embarrassingly primitive act. And yet it stopped the room. Every eye, cluster lens, and sensory membrane turned toward the lone human delegate. He was not yelling. He was not weeping. He was not prostrating himself before the council as 17 different species protocols would demand in this moment. He was writing. Deputy Councillor Farath of the Skeen Collective leaned toward Voss and whispered through a sealed frequency band. "Is he recording a complaint?" "Unknown," Voss replied. "Observe." James finished writing, tore the page free with a clean snap, folded it in thirds with slow, deliberate hands, and stood. He straightened his jacket. He cleared his throat. "Councillor Voss," he said, his voice calm and carrying easily across the chamber. "Before my delegation departs, I've been asked by the United Earth Government to formally deliver our response to this vote." Voss gestured permission. James held up the folded paper. "I won't be reading from this. I wrote down what I was told to say. But I'll tell you what I actually think instead." The translation layer hummed. "That's permitted?" Farath whispered again. "Apparently," said Voss. "You voted to remove us," James said, setting the unread paper on the desk. "That's your right. The Union is your house. We were guests." He let that sit for a moment. "But before you finalize those 30 rotations, I want to make sure you understand exactly what you're doing. Not as a threat. As a courtesy. Because humans extend courtesies even to people who've just shown us the door." He pulled up a small holographic device, a human-made one, clunky compared to Union tech, but it worked, and cast a simple map into the air above the delegation floor. "This is the outer drift," he said. 14 of your protected shipping corridors pass through systems we quietly patrol. Not because you asked us to. Because we were neighbors and that's what neighbors do." He highlighted them in blue. "This is the Sketh borderline." He highlighted it in red. 7 species here have been in cold conflict for 200 years. Humans have been mediating that standoff since we joined the Union. We haven't charged a single credit for it. More highlights. More quiet. This is the Yorn Deep Station. Humans built half of it and refused Union payment because we said, and I quote the record here, "We'll collect the favor later." We never did. James turned off the display. "We are not asking you to reverse the vote," he said. "We are not begging. That's not what we do." James Hargrove picked up the unread paper, looked at it once, then set it aside again. "What we are doing," he said, "is informing you that as of this moment, not in 30 rotations, but right now, Earth is operating under what our government calls the Hargrove doctrine." The translation layer struggled briefly with doctrine. It settled on binding declaration of intent. "From this moment," James continued, "humanity will honor every existing commitment we've made, every patrol route, every mediation, every half-built station, for the remainder of those 30 rotations. We are not people who abandon obligations. A low murmur moved through the chamber. After those 30 rotations, he said, we're gone. And so is everything we brought with us. He let the silence breathe. The Sketh borderline will need new mediators. The 7 species there have about 28 rotations to find someone who speaks 43 dialects and doesn't take sides. Good luck. He picked up his notepad. The outer drift patrols will end. 14 corridors. Whatever was using the dark between those systems while we kept watch, it'll have free passage again. I'd recommend updating your insurance frameworks. A counselor near the back, Thessan of the Murith hegemony, stood. Ambassador. Are you threatening the council? James looked at him with something that was not anger and not amusement but lived in the space between them. No, he said. I'm doing the opposite. I'm telling you exactly what happened so that nobody can say later they weren't warned. Threatening would be if I said we'd do something to you. I'm only telling you what we'll stop doing. He closed his notepad. There's a difference. Humans are very clear on that difference. In the corridor outside the Grand Hall, Deputy Councillor Ferath caught up to James Hargrove as he walked toward the human transport dock. Ambassador, Ferath said. A private word. James stopped. He was polite about it. You have to understand, Ferath said carefully, that the vote was not about your species' contributions. It was about the unease your species causes. You're unpredictable. You escalate. You form emotional attachments to problems that don't require emotional attachments. James nodded slowly. I understand that's how we look to you. Then you understand the council's position. I understand it, James said. I don't agree with it. But I've never needed the council to agree with me in order to do what I think is right. He tilted his head. That's probably the part that makes us unpredictable. Ferath was quiet for a moment. What was on the paper? The one you were told to read. James pulled it from his jacket pocket and handed it over. Ferath unfolded it. Read it. The paper contained 3 words. We'll be fine. Ferath stared at it for a long time. You were going to say that to the entire council? That was the official government statement, yes, James said. I thought the longer version was more useful. He took the paper back, folded it once more, and tucked it away. Take care of those corridors, he said. And walked on.